regret? Who is your great tutor? That little slimy ass bitch. You know, I remember I showed my friend who had never seen Phantom of the Opera, my childhood best friend who would then go on to betray me. When you show someone something, you kind of see it through fresh eyes. I've seen Phantom of the Opera, the movie with Emily Rossum, more times than any other movie. Like, it's like Pitch Perfect if Phantom of the Opera, dog. And basically this little blonde bitch just keeps going after Emmy Rossum's secrets, and she won't stop. And she's like, what's your secret? Who's your tutor? Like, how are you getting this voice? And it's like, maybe Emmy Rossum just has a natural gift, and she's been through a lot, and maybe just let her have this one thing. Like, I get that you have a bitch ass mom, but like, let Emmy Rossum have what she has, and like, stop being so jelly. Like, you're a beautiful ballet dancer in Paris. Like, you're gonna be just fine. But in the very last scene, she wears pants, and that actress is really pretty, and like, I don't know, she goes on to do fine things, but like the entire musical, she's jealous as hell, and it's like, whatever. But she does a great lower harmony, and she's an alto, and I guess there's like an alto soprano hierarchy on the Logue, but whatever. Christine, you must have been dreaming. Stories like this can't come true. Christine, you're talking in riddles, and it's not like you. You know, sometimes I feel like I talk in riddles. Do you think I look like a clown? You know, I got this shirt, and I got it online, and then I came in person, and I'm like, this might be the most clown-esque shirt I own. But I'm trying, dude. I don't think it actually looks that bad. I think I can low-key make anything work if I really put my mind to it. But I don't know. It's a little clowny, but we're not going to talk about that right now, girl. Because I just got home from seeing Oh, Mary with Maya Rudolph. Let me tell you something. I've been wanting to see Oh, Mary since I've heard about it because I love Cola Scola. And then I moved to New York, and I'm like, I need to see this musical. But the people who were playing Mary, like every single one, I was such a huge fan of. But the tickets, girl, are expensive as hell. And I tried to rush like once, and it basically like didn't work. And so I was like waiting. And then Maya Rudolph announced that she was going to be Mary. And I was like, okay, I literally don't care. I'm going to save up to go. And I got a front row seat tonight, and I saw her perform with Cheyenne Jackson, and literally the entire cast. It's a 5-person cast, the entire cast. But I have to say, Maya Rudolph in particular, like, it was one of my favorite experiences in a theater in my life. It was so much fun. And you know how sometimes you watch things and you're like, oh, that's funny, but it's not like laugh out loud funny? This one was like, oh, this one is actually funny for real. And at the very end, I won't spoil anything. I don't think it's that much of a spoiler. She wants to be a cabaret star, and at the very end, she does a cabaret number. And Maya Rudolph, oh man. You know, Maya Rudolph is somehow underrated. First of all, she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. And there's an effortlessness about her comedy that it like reminds me of Julia Louis-Dreyfus a little bit as well, of just like Maya Rudolph makes everything look easy. She just makes it look so natural. She makes it look so effortless. And literally, improv comedy is probably some of the most effortful, like, intense, difficult-looking shit you could do. And she's just an artist, man. She's just an artist. And I think she is one of the all-time greats. And tonight, I'm just so thankful that I saw her in this role, because I just think she was made to play this part. Like, I think the fact that this is her Broadway debut, it could not be more perfect. And I'm, like, just so happy. I would go see her again. I would go, like, you know how people are, like, after a movie, they're like, I like stayed in the movie theater and watched the entire thing again. That's how I felt like that's what I felt like I could do with this show, is I felt like I could sit there and rewatch the entire 2-hour show. It was so fantastic. And like, no one had spoiled it for me, so I really was going in blind. Like, I knew the beats. I knew like she wanted to be a cabaret star. I knew like Abraham Lincoln is gay in this one. Like, I knew all that, but I did not know like exactly what was gonna happen. And it was really well written. I did not see the twist coming. I loved it so much. I think it literally has the potential to be the next like Book of Mormon level comedy Broadway show, because there's no singing. That's not true. The very last part of the musical is a cabaret number, but it's really a play, and it doesn't cost a lot. Like, obviously the set design was really cute and the costumes were great, but like there's only 5 actors in the entire play, and it doesn't seem like there was only like 3 sets, and like one of them was just a set piece in the middle of the stage. Like, it doesn't seem like it would cost a lot to put on. Similarly to Book of Mormon, like, I don't know, like, I really think it has the potential to have some staying power. It clearly does have staying power, but I just could see Oh Mary being the next Book of Mormon and being on Broadway for years and years and years and years, because any gender, because Cola Scola is the first non-binary person to ever win an award, or I guess like out non-binary person to win an award, which is why that was such a absolutely phenomenal year. And actually, fun fact, actually, let me finish what I'm going to say, and then I'll say what I wanted to say. So Cola Scola, because they're non-binary, like, women have played the part and men have played the part, and non-binary people have played that part. So it really is like a different, it could be any flavor of person, as long as like they make the role their own. And the role is basically like this spoiled brat, and it's the most, but you totally understand Mary, you know what I mean? It's just so good, and I'm just so happy that it's on Broadway, because it really feels like, to be honest with you, it feels like very much my taste. And I guess people whose Oh Mary is like for you, it feels very validating and very comforting to see this type of art be performed on a mass scale, and kind of it be a crowd pleaser of a musical, because it's about like, it's talking about like, I don't know, it's just a very specific type of humor that's in your face. I guess it's probably how like South Park people feel about Book of Mormon, where it's like, this is a very like in your face dark comedy, and it has broad appeal. And that's how I feel about Oh Mary. That's why I'm comparing it to the Book of Mormon, because I'm like, it's a very like, I guess I would think a niche audience would like this, but it actually has broad appeal because it's so just like classically funny. And I don't know, it just allows you to just buy into the ridiculousness of the storyline. And I just loved it so much. Like, I loved it. I'm like, maybe I'm just elated from coming off the show, but I really am like, was that my favorite? I really love Death Becomes Her. That's another one that I was like, I'm just happy this exists. You know what I mean? I'm just, this is so like well written. Everything about it is perfect. The costumes are perfect. The cadence of it is perfect. The music is perfect. The actors are perfect. The comedy is just like absolutely phenomenal. And I've already talked about Death Becomes Her, but I just loved Oh Mary so much. I really did. And then I also saw the movie Obsession last night. And it was really, really good. I love when there's a good horror movie out, dude. When there's a good horror movie out that's like new and good, it's like, this is my time to shine. Like sorry, but it's true. Obsession was so good. And it's good in the way that like horror is good in the sense of like it's a very simple concept. It's a very easy buy-in, but it's still a horror movie, so it's like gross and like scary, like, you know what I'm saying? But the chick who's in this movie did such a good job. I don't know her real name, and I'm sorry, but her character name is Nikki. I'll also tell you I'll give you like a light plot overview of the movie. Basically, the movie is this guy makes a wish for this girl who doesn't love him to love him. And she's kind of like, and then it comes true, and then she's kind of under the spell. And you know, it kind of is a very like, it's like kind of like a beautiful lesson wrapped up in like a scary, disgusting, gory horror movie, which is like my favorite fucking thing. And the lesson is like, you don't want to force people to love you, and like what's naturally supposed to happen is meant to be. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't. It's hard because when you fall in love with someone and it's unrequited, you're just like, why doesn't this person love me? My life would be better if this person loved me. And specifically in the movie, he's like loved this girl for 7 years, but like he just cannot bring himself to be honest with her, and so he like, in a moment of like frustration, it just makes a wish, and then like a horror movie version of it happens. But it's just like, you can tell that it wasn't meant to be, and like he was actually supposed to fall in love with someone else, and like Nikki was meant to like move on with her life, but because of this spell that he put over her, because of this wish, like he's ruined everyone's life. And it's just about like, don't force shit. I mean, that's not the overall like, I don't know. I've been seeing, every time I see a horror movie, I go on TikTok, and then because my For You page can like, because they're like always recording me and about everything I do, my For You page like knows things before I know them. And my For You page gave me a TikTok that was like, did you guys know Obsession is actually an allegory about SA? And I'm like, oh, is it? Because that's what I see about every single horror movie. Every single time there's a horror movie, people are like, Nosferatu is an allegory for SA. Apparently, Obsession is an allegory for SA. And I'm like, you do realize that the people making these movies are like white guys who have a love and appreciation for horror movies. I'm not saying that isn't true. If that's how you interpreted the art, then that's lovely. And I think, sure, it could be applied to that, and it's a lens to look the movie through. But I also am like, I think it could be about so many different things. And I don't think every single horror movie is about that. I just think you're applying that message to a bunch of things. And I'm like, not everything is an allegory. And not everything is a metaphor. And yes, we should read deeper into things. And yes, I do believe in like literacy in pop culture and being on media and like reading into things. I think that's the point of art, is to find a deeper meaning. But I'm like, why is it that every single deeper meaning for every horror movie that I see, someone on TikTok thinks is an allegory for SA? It's like, that not everyone is making a horror movie with that in mind. You know what I'm saying? But once again, if it helps you, and if that's what you truly think it is about, and you see that message applied in multiple movies, then I also don't really have a problem with that. I don't know. It's just like, I keep seeing that, and I'm like, is that every single person's intention? Really? Every time? But, you know, it's fine. The movie had some really good music. Andy Richter is low-key in this movie, and it's kind of like, really, Andy Richter? I love that he's in this movie. I love when actors choose movies that are indie and like freaky as fuck, and they have like a little ass role. It's like, you have taste, and like you actually are a little freakier than I thought. You're not like this mainstream guy that everyone thinks you are. You're actually like a person in the world that actually has really good taste. And that's how I feel about Andy Richter. I'm like, I love that he was in this movie. That's so fun. Let me go back to the thing I wanted to say when I was talking about Cola Scola. So actually, my whole life, I'm going to talk about me now. Sorry, I'm going to talk about me now. My whole life, I've never had a desire to record myself and put it on the internet. Ever. And when I was in college, the year of the Tonys where Audra McDonald was nominated, Cole Escola won for Oh Mary. Sunset Boulevard won. Like Death Becomes Her was nominated. That year of the Tonys, I basically came home from work and I showered. It was my birthday. Oh my fucking God. It was literally my birthday. I came home from work, which by the way, you know what happened that day? I don't know. I don't really know how to feel about my birthday, dog. Like, sometimes I just want to work and not think about it. Is that so bad? I don't think that's so bad. But I remember going to work that day and someone was like, Maya, why are you working on your birthday? Maybe because I don't want to think about it. And I also like, I don't know. Like, let me do what I need to do. But when you ask me about it, you make me feel so, it just feels so lonely. And it doesn't have to be. Like, I'm completely content working on my birthday. My birthday is on a weekday in the middle of the week. I'm going to celebrate it on the weekend. So what's wrong? Like, why do I have to request the day off and actually on the day of my birth celebrate that day if it's inconvenient for everybody? What's wrong with just going to work? Sorry to rant and rave, but like, truly. So when someone's like, why are you at work on your birthday? It's like, why are you making me feel like I'm doing something wrong? Why are you making me feel like what I should be doing is asking all my friends? Like, what if I don't have any friends? What about that? What if I don't have a partner? What if I don't have any friends? And what if I have nothing better to do than come to work? And now you're rubbing it in my face and you've just ruined my entire birthday because you are not thinking about the things you're saying. What about that? Nonetheless, it's like, what's the other alternative? Ask all my friends to take off work so that they can come be with me on my birthday and then I take off work too? Nonetheless, it was my birthday. I was working and I was completely content doing that. And then I came home and I like ate dinner and whatever. And I was watching the Tonys and I was so passionate and truly felt invigorated to the point that I was like talking to myself out loud. And which I normally do. I talk to myself out loud all the time. But I really realized that night, I was like, wait, I'm literally already talking out loud. I should just record it because what I'm saying is actually hilarious. And that was the night I realized I should do this. Isn't that crazy? That was literally June 8th, because my birthday's June 8th because I'm a Gemini. Clock that. And here's something I want to say about Geminis, because Geminis get so much fucking hate. You know what Joe Keery's, both his ex-girlfriends have been? Geminis. You know who Emma Chamberlain is? A Gemini. You know who Natalie Portman is? Who Marilyn Monroe is? Who Angelina Jolie is? A Gemini. So I don't really want to hear a lot of hate on Geminis because Geminis get a lot of hate. It's like, actually, all the people that you have crushes on, they like Gemini girls. And it's kind of giving Chappell Roan where it's like, I'm your favorite artist. Well, I'm your celebrity crush's crush. Because even though these people don't particularly have a crush on me, Maya Caress, yet, they just don't know me. That's not their fault. Like, they just don't know me yet. But like, once they get to know me, I'm a Gemini and they're going to fall in love with me too. And you know what? I actually want to talk about that. And I'm going to be talking about something that if I ever like I'm viewing you through a romantic perspective, don't listen to this because this is going to make me sound so bad. But I'm just going to be honest because what's the point of being on here if not to be honest and vulnerable and clear and altruistic? You know what I'm saying? I've never been broken up with. But I've also never dated someone in my league. And I know leagues are stupid. And I know that just by saying leagues, people are like, you have such an ego about you and you're no better than anyone else. And I agree with you. But I also don't. Because at the end of the day, I have literally, and I'm not even kidding, I've literally never met a straight man in my entire life who has matched me at all. Every single time, I've been hotter than my partner. I've been smarter than my partner. I've been funnier than my partner. I've been sexier than my partner. But I've still dated that person. And I know these all sound like, well, then why are you dating them? Because I've literally never met someone who's matched me in any of those areas. And I don't even mean to say that like I'm this I mean, I do think I'm an incredibly sexy, incredibly funny, incredibly smart, incredibly hot person. But I also think a majority of women are. And I've never met a man who's all those things at the same level that I'm at. So that being said, I don't really have a type. I've dated people tall, people short, people fat, people thin, people with a six pack. Every boyfriend I've had has been a different race. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do not have a specific type. But that being said, I feel like I am in relationships with a lot more awareness of the situation. And maybe it's an issue with me being present. I know I'm a Gemini and I'm a Virgo moon, which is like a really nasty little combo because Geminis are quite wild cards and Virgos are quite specific. So I'm like an organized, specific, chaotic mess. And when it comes to relationships, I feel like I am in relationships not for the reasons that everyone else is in relationships in that I've ever heard people talk about. And it makes me feel like I'm a bad person. But ultimately, I'm like, maybe I'm just, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I should give you an example so that you understand what I'm talking about. And this is now the second time I'm bringing up my internship in France. But it was a very pivotal moment for me, and I learned so many life lessons on that trip because it was like the first time. It was like me solo traveling outside the country for the first time. So as at 18, so I really did learn a lot of like life lessons that I've looked back on, and a lot of things happened on that trip. But on that trip, I met this guy. While I was in France, on like the weekends, we would go to other cities outside the summer camp. Me and this English girl that I was working with, and I met this guy, and he was so fucking hot. He was so hot, but he was socially super awkward. So I'm like, you're lucky. I was like, you're lucky you're hot. He also paid for everything. And I met him in the middle of the trip. He was fine. You know, he was fine, but we kept in touch. At the very end of the trip, the person that hired me for the internship it was like this old couple. And I had a 7 a.m. Ticket on the train to go to the airport. And because I lived at a summer camp, the only way to get I could not walk to the next place. Like, it was like a literal 40-minute drive to anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So I needed someone with the car, which I did not have a car, to drive me. And literally there are like two people who had a car. This one French girl who would work Monday through Wednesday, and then the owners of the business who hired me as an intern, an unpaid intern. Basically, I asked him, would you take me to, like, hey, here's my, I did ask him, but like barely. I was like, hey, here is my time for the airport for when I need to be dropped off. He basically said he refuses to do that because it's too early. And we actually got in a fight. Mind you, he's a grown-ass man, I think in his, early 50s, French man. And I am an 18-year-old American girl that he has hired and not paid for 2 months to work for free for him. And there were like so many different things that happened on that trip that I'm like, this is the most unethical ass BS that I've ever heard about in my life. It was so crazy. But nonetheless, he just did not want to wake up early. And so he was like, you need to figure it out yourself. And I was so upset. And I was so done with working there that the girl, I was supposed to leave on Friday, the girl who only worked there 3 days a week, who had the car, I was like, you know what, girl? Just take me to this guy. Like, just get me to a train station. And then I then was still texting this guy that I met throughout the trip in one city. And I basically was like flirting with him. And I did not tell him about the situation that I would be homeless for 2 days. Mind you, I was completely broke in this foreign country. I did not have enough money to pay for a hotel for 2 days. I was that broke in France. And I basically texted this guy and had like a 2-day love affair-esque situation with him. And he paid for everything. He let me sleep in his bed for 2 days. And I realized in that situation, I was desperate. I did not have a place to stay, because if I had stayed at the place, at the summer camp, I wouldn't have been able to go home. Or I would have missed my train because this old French guy refused to take me, and he was my only way to get to a train station. I could not call a taxi because that's how, like, in the middle of nowhere it was. You know what I'm saying? So I was in a rock and I was between a rock and a hard place. I was either I walk literally 8 hours with my luggage, with my 2 giant ass luggage pieces to the train station in the middle of the night, or I sleep on the ground, or I have to figure out something. And I realized this guy literally kind of fell in love with me in 2 days. And to be fair, like, we were in France. It was like and he was very lovely, and like, I guess he wasn't working for those 2 days, but like, he really like gave me a full on like French love affair situation. But the whole entire time I was like, I am cooler than you. And he was extremely generous, which I'm not as generous as he was. Which means he is a better person than me. I guess it's not about being better, but it is about like, I guess it's more about having more social awareness than the other person. I think women have such higher levels of social awareness than most men. And I think people read that as, well, women are more tapped into their emotions, but to be masculine means to be completely numb to all emotions. Like, even, you know how like some men, like, people view like men to be masculine if they punch a hole in the wall? That's not always true. Like, men even don't want to express anger. They want to express nothing, because to be a man means to not be a human being, and to be a woman means to be like a fully alive human being that feels every emotion. But really, that's just the human condition, and like the reason there is no true like masculinity is because that would mean it completely evading yourself from the human condition. He just was really awkward, and he was very sweet, but I was just like, it was the first time in my life, because I had lost a lot of weight on that trip because they like literally wouldn't feed us. It sounds so bad, but it's the truth, girl. It's the fucking truth. They like wouldn't feed us, and there was nowhere else to get food at the summer camp. So I lost a lot of weight, and like I had no male attention my entire life, and this was the first time that like someone was interested in me, and I was like actually using my attractiveness to get what I needed in that situation. And he truly viewed it as like we were having a once-in-a-lifetime spontaneous love affair for 2 days, and I was completely in love with him. And I don't know. I wonder how I'm coming across in this. Do I sound crazy? Do I sound like a psychopath? Do I sound like a sociopath? Do I sound like an evil person? Or do I sound maybe like I'm not a present person? I am a present person, though. I am present in the moment. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I want to tell you about Joshua Bassett. So, Joshua Bassett came out with a book called Rookie. And I've read it. And, I have a lot of opinions on this book. And I do want to start off with saying, I was there. It was rare. I remember it all too well. I remember when Joshua Bassett and Olivia, not Newton-John, Rodrigo, came onto the scene, okay? Because I was introduced to the both of them at the same time and honestly became big fans of both of them at the same time. Like, I watched Sour, like, the actual background of why Sour was written, I saw with my own eyes in real time, because both their pages were full of unreleased, of songs they would write on their Instagram pages. And so, Joshua would write songs all the time, Olivia would write songs all the time, and they would write songs back and forth, quite frankly, about their relation, about falling in love, and it's bitch, they're falling in love with each other. And also, Sabrina Carpenter and Joshua Bassett have an unreleased song that is so good, and it's actually a shame that it wasn't released, because it is literally giving, the Shawn Mendes, Camila Mendes, I Know What You Did Last Summer vibe, as well as Senorita vibe. But between Joshua Bassett and Sabrina Carpenter, it's an insanely sexy song. And it's literally it's so good that it's I know you guys would have received death threats, and I'm sorry about that. That wasn't me, girl. I'm not sending anybody death threats, but I know they were receiving death threats over this situation, which was so just uncalled for. And if you ever send a death threat to anybody, that's crazy. Actually, you need help, because you have a parasocial relationship with someone and you have levels of anger that you're channeling into this thing that does not affect you, and you need to handle your emotions better. But nonetheless, they should have released that song regardless, because that's how good that song is. Anyways, so I've been a fan of both of them. I've been tracking both their careers. Even after Sour was written, I obviously had a sour opinion of Joshua Bassett. Nonetheless, at the same time that all of this stuff was happening, Joshua Bassett came out as queer. Joshua Bassett had heart failure. Joshua Bassett was kind of honestly, in a crazy way, being a good sport about the whole situation. So it was very easy for me to still root for him, because he was a rootable figure and quite frankly handled in the public eye this situation kind of in the best way he could, without specifically addressing it and making a comment about the situation, because he was supportive of both girls. He had a sense of humor about it. And he also was hey, I'm gay, which I don't know if he's retracted that. I don't know what his sexuality is, but I was just oh, well, okay. Maybe that gives a little context of why he did what he did, but I don't know. And then he also had heart failure, so it's okay, on a human to human level, that is devastating. Then he came out as he religious, he believed in God. And I'm okay, girl. I can only have, you can only go through so many transformational situations at once. So then I was okay, he's going the religious route, and I'm okay, girl. And then I kind of lost track. And then he came out with music that was so good. Once again, the art will bring you back to a person. And as actually Joshua Bassett says in this book, opinions are fickle. And I'm proof of that. My opinion changes all the fucking time. And I feel as though I'm a very forgiving person, and I'm a person that has perspective. And honestly, I'm going to side with a girl every single time, or at least most of the time, that I'm going to side with a man, just because I think women are more rational than men, as almost a rule, and a generalization, but a rule nonetheless. And because his art was so good, I then would watch his interviews, and I actually think he does have some interesting views of life. He does have some a couple nuggets of gold that he says, and I was like, okay, he's coming out with this book. I'll give it a goog. I'll give it a read. And so I've read it, and I think it's a very sweet book. I think it's sweet. I think it's an earnest book. And I think there are moments of this book that are good. I think there are moments of this book that I quite frankly am like, this is the most like corny ass crap. I'm sorry. I love Joshua Bassett. I saw him in Little Shop of Horrors, but there's one like little story where he's like, one time when I was 16, I was at a bowling alley and it was New Year's Eve and everyone was having a bad time, and then I started to dance, and then like I got everyone to dance, and that's the whole story. And he's like, so don't be afraid to dance like everyone's watching. Or he says something that's like, dance like everyone's watching and you don't care. And I was like, girl, if this isn't live, laugh, love in a book, like, come on. But then he does have some pockets of knowledge, and he literally, there's a page where he puts a Jason Earls quote and then 2 proverb verses from the Bible right next to each other. So if that's the type of thing you're down to read, then I do recommend this book, because that's what you're going to read. But I think also it's a very sweet book, because he's being so like, this is how I did what I did, and this is what I do, and I'm writing this because, and it's like, it's incredibly honest. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very straightforward, honest book. Like, I do the Wim Hof breathing method every morning. I listen to Nora Jones every morning. Like, that's what this book is. And you know, what I wanted from this book is I wanted him to be like, this is what happened with the Olivia Rodrigo situation. And I get why he doesn't want to do that, because that's a very immature, kind of like trashy thing to put in a book. But it's also like, that's why you don't write a book when you're this young. You read a book for, quite frankly, the gossip. And it's not even the gossip. You read the book for the, like, details and the secrets. And you can't really write those things when it's only been a couple years, because it still kind of matters. And that's why people should write memoirs when they're, like, old and, like, have lived a long life. And have lived long enough that, like, the things that happened when you were teenagers, you can actually be honest about, because it doesn't matter anymore. And this book, he just touches on the things. He just barely, like, puts his tiptoes on the things that if he was writing a memoir, like, that he should be diving into. Like, for example, he was saying, like, people would stand outside his apartment and sing songs from Sour to torment him. And he would go into places and they would start playing Sour. And, like, people would, like, give him, like, stop him on the street and, like, scare him and chase him and stalk him. And, like, okay, that's literally all he says, though. And it's like, I want you to take me through every moment of that book. And that's why Alan Cummings' book is so good, is because he actually is talking about the traumatic moments of his life. Because ultimately, you also write a memoir to share your trauma and share your pain, so that it helps other people who have gone through pain and kind of see, like, a bigger perspective and, like, apply it to their own life. So if you're going to talk about that, which Joshua Bassett does talk about trauma and pain in his life, you want kind of the specifics, because in the specifics is where, like, truth lies, like, universal truth lies. And he does not go into the specifics of any particular part of his life. He just gives, like, a very general version of very difficult things and very, like, traumatic, painful things. It's just a general, like, this is what happened. But there's no specifics. There's no, like, this is how this made me feel. This is the events led up to it. For example, there's a line in the book where he's like, I got the part of Ricky in High School Musical, the musical series, and like the day before I had lost all my friends to a false rumor. That's literally what it says, and I'm like, I want to know more about that story. And if I'm leaving a memoir being like, okay, girl, but the juiciest parts you barely got into, then you probably did not do that great in the memoir. I think it's like, the memoir is called Rookie. So I guess, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I do like the book, and I think it's a sweet book. I think it's an honest book. I think he genuinely should be proud of this for how old he is. Like, it's like if I wrote a book at 22 years old, I could still be proud of it and be honest about, this is the truest version of like how I have this perspective of my life at this age. But I also wouldn't do that because I am so young, and you do have so much more life to live and so much more perspective to gain and so much more like time that needs to be had in order for wounds to heal that haven't healed yet. And he says in the book the reason he's writing it is because he's lived so many lives in such a short amount of time. And while I understand that, it's like Jane Fonda didn't write a book until she was like in her 50s, and it's a 300-page book stuffed with details. So it's like you can have a very, very eventful life and wait until much later in your life to give sage wisdom. I get told all the time I'm very mature for my age. You know, I'm 22, and I'm financially independent. I live on my own, away from all my friends and family. I have, I don't know, I meditate and do yoga and eat healthy and volunteer and I try to be a healthy, good person who's financially independent. And I think in New York, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm trying to say, but what I'm trying to say is I get told all the time that I'm very mature for my age. And I'm like, yes, because quite frankly, I don't feel like I'm 22. I think I was someone who as a kid always felt, even though I look very young, I've always felt so much older than I am. And I've always been around people who I'm you're so, you're only thinking about yourself, and you're acting so immature right now. And there's really nothing you can do when people act immaturely. You know what I mean? There's just not really anything you can do besides say, you're being immature right now. Be the bigger person. And it's not even about being the bigger person. It's just about, not thinking about yourself all the time in every situation, and, looking at people from a more objective lens or a more empathetic lens, as opposed to thinking people are doing something with bad intentions. It's try not to judge the person that is putting you in the uncomfortable situation, because very rarely are people coming into situations with bad intentions. Normally what's happening is two people are butting heads due to miscommunication or different things that have shaped that person, and different things that have shaped you as a person are counteracting each other. And I feel I sound maybe an idiot right now, and I sound so egotistical, and I feel the way that I'm coming across is you seem like an idiot. You seem like how dare you, as someone who's 22, think that you seem like you're so old for your age. It's nauseating for me to say what I'm saying, but I also think it's true. Sorry. And when I'm older, I can look back at this and be I sound like an idiot, and I'm naive, and I actually don't know anything. But I know I don't know anything. That's why I know something, because I know I don't know anything. And people think they know things, but they don't. They actually don't know anything. But I actually do know things. But I actually do know things, man. Anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, the point of life is to be yourself. And I feel like I'm very accepting of myself. I'm very open with myself. I'm very, I try to be non-judgmental in terms of, like, whatever form I take, meaning, like, whatever my sexuality is, whatever my gender spectrum is, whatever I want to do with my life, I'm very open to that as a possibility. It just has to feel good and it has to feel right. But no matter what that thing is, I don't judge myself for that thing. Like, I don't know. For example, with my gender, I've thought, I do feel, I think maybe more masculine than maybe I come across. But I feel so in touch with who I am when everything around me is pink. And it's like, I think I am a masculine person, but I also am like, I feel right. I feel more in touch with who I am as a person when everything around me is pink, and when I am surrounded by the girliest possible things in the world. I feel more in touch with who I am. And so I think it's even easier to embrace the more masculine things about me because I think it's sexier. You know, I once told my uncle I love being like a cute, pretty, clean girl in a dirty city. I like that juxtaposition. And I feel like I really love that juxtaposition in so many aspects of my life. And that kind of goes along with gender. And I love having like a more masculine maybe personality and very like masculine view. And I guess I don't mean masculine in the ways that I've been talking about before, but I mean masculine in the sense of like, I don't know. I think I just have masculine traits. I love that juxtaposition to looking very feminine and being surrounded by femininity all around you, and your taste and the way that you appear in the world is extremely feminine. I like that juxtaposition. I also, in terms of like sexuality, I'm gonna share this. My mom would tell my siblings without me knowing that she thought I was a lesbian. She would always say that. And my mom is Mormon and religious, so she's not saying that as a compliment. She's not saying that in like an accepting way. She's saying that because in her brain, being a lesbian means you're bad, and being a lesbian means you're wrong or different. And she's saying it in a derogatory way. But I went to Chicago, and I've always been like, you know, men are so difficult, and they don't match my levels, and women do. And so ultimately, my life would be so much more efficient and productive if I were a lesbian, because I feel like I connect so much easier and so much more clearer with women. So if I was romantic with women, I could very easily see my life being a certain way that honestly looks like greener pastures than the line of straight men that I'm going down. Because that's like the dark ages, girl. And I went on that solo trip in Chicago that I vlogged. I went to second base with a girl one night, and I made out with her multiple times, and I didn't tell her that I've never made out with a girl. And quite frankly, like, she was a lesbian. Okay, she was wet. down there. And I don't even mean to make this sound egotistical, but I really was giving it a college try. I was like, am I a lesbian? This is where I find out. Okay, I'm not going to like give a kiss and then be like I don't want any questions after this. I'm either a lesbian or I'm not, and I need to try it in order to figure it out. And I really realized, you know, this doesn't feel connective. And the girl was so beautiful. The girl was like wearing a Brazil soccer jersey and had big silver hoops, and she was Latina and had beautiful brown hair, and she was funny, and like I connected with her as a person, and she was so gorge. And I was like, if I'm gonna try this, I need to find the other person attractive. She was so beautiful and pretty and hot that I'm like, okay, let's make out type of vibe. I was experimenting. Is that bad? Is that a bad thing to say that I was experimenting? I did tell her I was only going to be in there for one night. And I kept being like, is it okay if we do this? Like we kept asking for each other for consent, and we consented the whole time. So I guess like if it was two consenting adults, and I know in my personal experience that this is the first time I'm doing something, I'm experimenting with my sexuality, I don't think that's like necessarily a negative thing. But know what? Maybe you think it is, and I'd love to hear why, because this is, I feel like, a conversation that if I'm going about the wrong way, I would be very open to hearing about how and why, and like reflecting on that, and like learning about why it would be offensive what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, or how like the way I'm talking about it. But nonetheless, I really it just didn't, it felt so like it didn't feel right for me. It didn't feel connective. It didn't turn me on. I think it was exciting, and it was like fun. You know, it was fun, but it wasn't like, it didn't make me feel strongly. And it didn't make me feel alive, to be honest with you. It made me feel quite like mechanical, and like it just didn't feel special. And that's gonna be so mean, and it is nothing against this girl. Like, I cannot emphasize enough, this girl was sexy as hell, and like so kind, and she should literally have sex with any and all people that she is attracted to, and she probably will. Like, there is nothing against this girl. She is a great kisser. She was so fucking hot. The fact that I was like, you're hot enough to make me question my sexuality, I really hope like gives her the like, it's not you, it's me, girl. But it wasn't that she wasn't special. She was special. It's that like the feeling of being sexual with a girl didn't feel special to me. And that was the biggest gift I've ever given myself, because now I feel so much more confirmed in who I am as a person. And it really showed me, like, I could have my whole life held this thing that my mom has been saying about me to my siblings as like a derogatory thing. Like, I've always thought Maya was a lesbian. And then I just never choose to go after that because I don't want to confirm this thing that my mom's been saying about me as true. Or I don't want something like that to be true. But I didn't want to do that because I was like, I want to be myself. I'm also not homophobic, and I don't align with that religious belief, and I don't align with homophobic beliefs at all. I think it's the most insane fucking thing. And it's just like, no, what? I'm glad that I have a clear view of like, you people are unfun and judgmental and repressed. And like, just like, you're boring and lame and hateful and everything I don't like about a human being. And then like everyone who believes that gay people are wrong, I'm like, okay, well, thank you for telling on yourselves, because I'm not interested in you as a human race. And then everyone else that's like supportive of gay people, I'm like, okay, well, that's easier. That's so much easier because you guys are fun and like normal and accepting and like it's chill. I'm so glad I gifted myself that experience and tried something new, even though it was like nerve-wracking. I took my nerves and made it excitement. I tried something that I could have easily never tried in my whole life, and for the rest of my life been like, am I gay? Am I bi? Am I like, I just would never know unless I tried it. And now that I've tried it, I do know, and I feel like I do know myself so much better. And that's an experience that, quite frankly, because I've had at my age of 22, and I know that about myself, I know my sexuality, and obviously even that is like, I'm giving myself a label of I'm straight, but like sexuality truly is a spectrum, and like sometimes I find fucking scenery sexually attractive. Sometimes I find fucking paintings sexually attractive. Like sexuality is so much more than like they're like Theo James on a screen. Like, don't get me wrong, John Bernthal, Theo James, and so many of my celebrity crushes are part of that sexuality. But like sexuality is so much more than this label I'm giving it. But like this idea that like I'm attracted to a specific gender, in like, if I'm not being super philosophical about it and thinking about sexuality in like a grandiose way, if I'm like simplifying it down to like 4 boxes, like gay, straight, bi, and asexual, I can check the straight box and know that with certainty. Whereas like there are people who die, who repress their sexuality and like never know, and they're like emotionally stunted, and in that way they're younger than me in terms of like their mental age, because they never do any self-discovery. They like repress. And I guess that doesn't necessarily, I think age to me is like, maybe when we're our youngest, we're actually at our mental eldest, because we're the most clear with who we really are. And then we unlearn who we are because we want to fit in, because of society and because of like shame and all this like things that are instilled in us of like what to be cool is. And like the world tries to make you unlearn it and like make you regress mentally into like social standards and society. And it is our job for the rest of our life to rediscover who we really are and actualize that and live it and express who we really are, because that's kind of the whole point of why we're here at all. So in that way, that's just an example. But like there are people, for example, who like always want to move somewhere and never do. And they just never do their whole life. And they're always like you know that movie where that chick is like at her birthday and she's old and she's like, yes, but I never went to Paris in the spring, and I never did this and I never did that. I think like I really want to spend my life doing the things I've always wanted to do and like actually going and doing them. And I think that makes me mentally older, because I actually do it, as opposed to like saying I'm gonna do it, because people say they're gonna do things for forever. I don't know, I'm really hyping myself up and then breaking myself down right now, and like I'm really prefacing a lot, and I don't mind that, because you know what, this is real, this is me, this is who I'm meant to be. And actually I need to talk about Demi Lovato. And then maybe I'll end it, because I have no idea how long I've been talking. I could probably be talking for like 2 fucking hours. Demi Lovato has been on tour as of late. She like sings like a song from her like different eras, and she was singing La La Land, which, oh my god, that song is so good. Like, you know the Colbert questionnaire, it's like, if you could have one song for the rest of your life, like if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, what song would it be? My answer isn't not La La Land by Demi Lovato. Like, that song is so perfect. It's so good. And I like forget about that song, and then I rediscover that song multiple times in my life. Every time I hear that song, I want to listen to the whole thing multiple times in a row. That's how good that song is. Every time it hits, it's just a song that I'm like, this song like connects with me so deeply. Like, I remember being a little girl and hearing, who says I can't wear my dress with my Converse, baby, that's just me. And it meant something different to me then than it does to me now. And the fact that those lyrics are like what they are, just deeply connects with me. I don't know. I just love that song. But she was on tour and she was singing that song. And she hits a note. During the bridge, she's like, okay, wait, let me get there. Some may say I need to be afraid, losing everything. And then she goes, in the bridge, she goes, in the la la land. And then she hits machine. And then in the recorded version, she does like a run. And she's like, oh yeah. Or that's not what she does, but she does something else. And then in the live performance, she just sustains the high note for so long and strong. And she is vocally at her, like, I'm like, Demi Lovato's voice can't get better. It can't get better. It gets better and better and better and stronger and healthier as she refines her skill. She is not regressing. She is evolving, bitch. Okay? When I saw that video of her singing that note, I think I probably rewatched it like 20 to 30 times in a row. Just her doing machine for so long. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. It's giving the guy from Chess, the musical Chess, and he sings that long ass note, and you're literally like, how is he holding this note for so long and so strong? That is her with that note. And Demi Lovato, like, you guys can say whatever you want about Demi Lovato, but you cannot take away how talented she is. And she honestly might have the best voice to ever come out of Disney. And I love so many Disney Channel stars, if not all of them. And I think they're all genuinely some of the most talented people that have ever graced the earth. Miley Cyrus, Raven Simone, Britney Spears. Like, if we think about people who have been on Disney, it's like literally some of our greatest talents ever. Zendaya, like, what? It's literally the best of the best. Leonardo DiCaprio, which I don't even love him, but whatever, dude. Like, you know what I'm talking about. He was on Mickey Mouse Club with Justin Timberlake and Christina Aguilera, and like they were all on there. No, Leo wasn't with them. Was Leo a Disney kid at some point? I feel like he was. But maybe I'm mixing up Leonardo DiCaprio and Justin Timberlake. But Demi Lovato has the best voice. She really does. She has the best voice to come out of Disney. And it is just... She is the 8th wonder of the world. I'm blown away by her power. Her voice has such power. And she's a technical girl too. She makes stylistic choices with her vocals that no one else can make. And I'm so happy that she is like, I grew up with Demi Lovato. You know what I'm saying? And she's given us so much material over the years that I constantly quote all the time. Like, I'm about to beat this bitch up. All the way to, like, her Sunny with a Chance days. Like, she's a talented girl. Camp Rock is unbelievable. And then even her being, like, doing, like, Femi and doing, like, I went to the yogurt shop and I did get the yogurt I wanted. And I was pretty sad for the whole weekend. Or her doing, like, talking to a ghost and being like, she has trauma, and being fucking dead ass serious. And then her being like, her through every era, is just unbelievable. And she's like an actress who can hit her mark and give her line and like act the fuck out of anything as well. You know what I'm saying? Demi Lovato, Demi Lovato, Demi Lovato. I'm saying her like I'm saying Elio in Call Me By Your Name. I'm sitting at a fireplace, I'm hugging my knees, and I'm saying, Demi Lovato, Demi Lovato, Demi Lovato, Demi Lovato. Like, oh my gosh. And Cool by the Summer is the best song ever. And on Las Culturistas, they were like, what is the number one song in the American songbook? Cool by the Summer is that song. Oh my gosh. And you know what's an underrated song for real? Stone Cold. Oh my gosh. Stone Cold is literally her best song. It's her best song. And it is an underrated song. That song is unbelievable. And you know what else is a good song? 100 Million Stories and 100 Million Songs. I feel stupid when I sing. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening. Anyone? Is there anyone? Is there anyone? Oh my god. Have you heard rawer, more vulnerable lyrics in your life, girl? She's having a breakdown about life at the piano keys. Like, this was like just a flow. This was an artistic flow that she gifted the universe. I mean, she is at her wit's end. She is at her most vuln. Oh, Demi Lovato. She's given us so much. Like, literally, she's given us so much, and she will be looked back on by future generations as a girl who gave us so much. And she has gone through the gambit of being made fun of, and she has reclaimed it all. And she has such a good sense of humor about herself, and so many people in the public eye don't. And honestly, especially pop girls. And I kind of love the fact that pop girls don't have a good sense of humor about themselves. I love that they take themselves so seriously. Like, I genuinely think people taking themselves too seriously is really cunty and great. And I love that. I truly do. Like, that makes me love them in a new flavor. But Demi Lovato constantly reclaiming the moments where she's like embarrassed herself and owning it and like adding, like laughing with society, I think really says something about her groundedness and her humility and like her joie de vivre. You know what I mean? She's really special and she's really sexy and she's really open. And I think like, does she make mistakes? Yes. But she's also, by making those mistakes, and like, I guarantee you that she has helped so many people come out about their sexuality, about their gender. And even though like, and just overall things about sobriety, things about like self-discovery, even though she's made a lot of mistakes in the public eye, it's important to see people make mistakes. And especially when it comes to self-discovery. And she really has been so open about that. And like her struggles with addiction. Like, can you name another pop girl who is her age who has been as open as she has been about her addictions and about her mistakes and about her, like, Demi is open as fuck. And she has a good sense of humor about it all. And there are people and celebrities and pop girls as well, which once again, I love this, but they just have a different like view of how they handle their life. Like, there's like, shut the door and lock it, and I'm never going to talk about it, and I'm moving on. And if you bring it up, I'm going to make you uncomfortable about it because I don't want to talk about it. And I completely get it. I just am astounded by Demi Lovato's just incredible talent and vulnerability and openness and sense of humor. And she's just a one-of-a-kind star. She's a star, and she's just once again, her eating disorder. Oh my god. Her vulnerability. Once again, people can roll their eyes all day and be like, oh, what doesn't this girl have? She's an addict and she has an eating disorder and she has gender. She like experiments with gender and sexuality and like, oh, like this girl is like a nutcase, whatever. They can say whatever they want, but quite frankly, What other pop star is being as vulnerable and open about their eating disorder than her? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that takes a level of guts and a level of vulnerability and like literally self-love and acceptance and discovery and actualization that like literally no one else that I can think of has, that is like her age and as like and is in the lane that she's in. Like, I love you, Demi Lovato. I love you. I love her so much. I love her so much. I just do. There's nothing you can do about it. Bye.